Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm Jim, and unfortunately, my brother is still recovering from a medical procedure, and he just wanted to give a very appreciative thank you to everybody, all our loyal listeners who chimed in, and send him a lot of well wishes. He's fine. He's not in any imminent critical situation, but he is recovering. And Steve, you're my baby brother, so I'm sending you all my best too. All right. So feel better, and you'll be back with us next week. Today's Christmas Eve. Our producer Rob is behind the curtains. If we need him to chime in, he's going to want me to mention his 3-0 picks last week, and I'll get to mine as well. But everybody, thank you very much for joining us, and let's get on with the show. Very cold and blustery day in the Northeast, so everybody's feeling this crazy weather. Rob's up in the Catskills, so it's even colder up there. So we'll jump right into it with our monologue, and of course, week after week, our monologue is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York, and who I think I mentioned it last week, just became a grandfather for the second time. So congratulations to him, his daughter, and his family. And thanks for being a sponsor of the show. So, Rob, our monologue behind the curtain is the World Cup. And I know it's unprecedented that we start our show with soccer, but I must say the World Cup final, France and Argentina, was the best soccer game I've ever seen. And it was exciting right down to the wire. It had all the pomp and circumstance of Messi winning his first World Cup and apparently trying to solidify himself as the greatest of all time. But I wanted to mention, and there's no question, I'm a huge Messi fan, and I couldn't be happier for him. And France put up an unbelievable fight. This Kylian Mbappe, just, he's the rising star. He's gonna be back in the World Cup final, and I think he's gonna get his one day. But as far as the greatest of all time goes, and I wanted to bring this up because Diego, who's our resident soccer expert, and sent me it was almost like a 10-minute tape of Pele. And I'm bringing this up because we know that Pele himself right now is 82 years old. He's kind of in failing health. But this 10-minute video was absolutely incredible. And it was incredible from this perspective. This was before Diego pointed out to me, because I can't say I'm 100% vested in all the rules, but they didn't have yellow cards and and red cards and all that kind of stuff. So Diego used the perfect line. It was kill the guy with the ball. And for 10 minutes, it was just unbelievable. The hits that Pele took, and it was almost brutal to watch some of the collisions, and he kept getting up time and time again. He got up from this. It was just absolutely amazing. If you get a chance, I think it's on Facebook somewhere, take a look at that. And then you ask yourself, who is in fact the GOAT of soccer? My view, and I told you guys before, I got a chance to see Pele play at the end of his career, but I did get to see him play, which was an absolute honor because he's an amazing character, great ambassador for soccer and sports in general, and we wish him the best, so he doesn't lose any credibility. I don't have a problem with putting Messi and Pele in the same sentence, but it was great to see Messi get his, and we wish Pele all the best in his recovery. Hopefully that's great, but if you get a chance, watch that video. So we're going to move right on to the NFL. It's Christmas Eve, and today is like a full NFL schedule today. There's going to be some cold weather games, so some of the picks are going to be a little hard to make, but we'll do our picks in a little bit. But I wanted to bring this up, and I know Rob's a Jet fan, but this Zach Wilson situation in New York is really it's amazing. The performance he had, I guess, against the Jags on Thursday night was, kind of the performances we've been seeing from this kid. We've seen his immaturity, but I think he may have played his last game for the New York Jets. I mean, to get replaced by a practice squad player, this kid Sevler, never even heard of him, replaced. So I guess that means the Flacco experiment is over as well. But yeah, I think Zach Wilson his tenure in New York is tenuous at best. I like the kid, but we did see how immature he was, but he's just not getting it done. And I said, listen, this is only his second year in the league, so I'm thinking he has a chance to bounce back, but it doesn't look like it's going to be in New York. So with a full slate of games today, the Giants are playing this Minnesota up in Minnesota. And of course, there was like a terrible situation in the Mall of America, which is the largest shopping mall in the country. So our hearts go out to those families that had victims in there. But I like the Giants' chances today. It's going to be one of my picks when we go forward. But they really rose to the occasion with a win last week in Washington, which I didn't think was going to happen, but that wasn't one of my three picks anyway. But so their playoff hopes alive, and I'm still not 100% sold on Kirk Cousins. They play some good games, but they did have the largest comeback in NFL history last week, which was pretty cool. I must admit that. But the Jets' playoff chances are basically gone. So that season, which a month ago they were 7-4, and now they're 7-8. So there's a lot going on in the NFL, and like I said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers leading a division with a 6-8 record, crazy stuff. And we have to talk about that Patriots Raiders ending last week. I don't have any explanation for it. I mean, it was just a mental lapse, but it really is one of the most incredible, and it just, of course, makes you think of the fumble in Giant Stadium that Herm Edwards picked up on the Larry Zonka, Joe Pisarcik, mishandling of the snap. So crazy stuff in the NFL. So there's a lot of games, but I wanted to bring another point up. This situation with just came out yesterday. Well, I just heard about it yesterday. Miles Austin, wide receivers coach for the Jets, suspended for gambling. And it just seems, again, the NFL and the complete, I just can't explain it. They've become bedfellows with these gambling sites. Apparently, thank goodness, he wasn't gambling on his team. He didn't do a Pete Rose. So that's good news. But I mean, for God's sakes, he could bet. But maybe, if he was using the Jets facility to place these bets, but he should still be able to bet on basketball, I mean, or any other sport, as long as he's not, compromising the integrity of the game. I think, that's a harsh penalty. But the hypocrisy of the NFL to even suggest that, and there's thousands of other players and coaches and all kinds of members of sports organizations that are gambling all the time. But if it does come out that he was gambling on football, that's a whole different thing. But the hypocrisy of the NFL, like I said, being bedfellows with DraftKings and FanDuel, and it's just amazing. I can't believe that this NFL seems to be so inept in the messages that they're sending. It just drives me crazy. So anyway, let's get to our picks from last week. And both Rob and I were 3-0, right? I've been on kind of a hot streak lately. So I got 3 picks this week. And Rob, I'm going to ask you to chime in with your 3 weeks, your 3 picks for today's slate of NFL games. So Green Bay visits Miami. And this is kind of a funny thing because now you got Aaron Rodgers. They still have a legitimate chance of making the playoffs. If they were in, Tampa Bay and Carolina's division, then they would have a shot at it. Or Jacksonville, but it's just. I'm not pulling for Aaron Rodgers. He just seems so arrogant now. But he's still a very good quarterback. So I like Green Bay visiting Miami today, and I told you I just can't seem to figure Miami out enough to want to pick them. Philly, Dallas. So Steve, I know he'll be watching this game today. Philadelphia is going to be without Jalen Hurts. You know what? This could be a resting kind of thing. I'm not really sure. I saw where he could have gotten hurt, but so he's not going to be playing today. So I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. I think they seem to have a good thing going lately, and like I said, the NFC is wide open. So, Philadelphia, they've only lost one game so far. So I think there's a good chance that they'll take it on the chin today, the Dallas Cowboys. And my third pick, as I mentioned before, is the Giants. I'm still a believer in Daniel Jones. It's an indoor thing, ironically, because with this cold weather, it's not outdoors in Minnesota. So indoors, I think with the conditions, I think they have a good chance, and I'm going with the Giants today. So, Rob, are you ready to chime in with your three picks in Steve's stead today? And congratulations on your 3-0 from last week, by the way.
By the way, I'm not a Jets fan that you classified me as.
Oh, you're a Steelers fan, right?
Steelers, Giants.
Okay.
Steelers, Giants. Speaking of Steelers, and I'm sure you're going to mention this prominently later on in the show, but there is
already know where you're going.
There is no way in hell Pittsburgh's going to let the Raiders beat them on the day that they're still going to retire Franco Harris's jersey 3 days after he passed away, shockingly, to the NFL world.
Yep.
So I got Steelers over the Raiders. I got the Lions, who are marching towards a playoff berth, over the Panthers, who are not. Well, no, actually, they're still alive, I guess, for the
technically, they're still alive.
Oh, my God.
They're still alive.
Yep. And today's what? Today's Christmas Eve, Saturday. This game is way after all the presents are open, but Sunday night, Chargers over the Colts.
Yeah, I don't see the Colts bouncing back from that humiliating defeat last week either. So, all right, so you got the Chargers over the Colts.
Yep.
Okay.
What was your last pick, by the way? Your last pick.
What's that, Rob?
What was your last pick?
I took the Giants over Minnesota today.
All right.
Philadelphia loses to Dallas, and Green Bay beats Miami. Yep. And yes, I know exactly what you're referencing, and I was contemplating that being on today, but I think the World Cup deserves it with the stage that they set. But I'm going to bring that up, and from a Pittsburgh Steelers perspective, it's kind of a difficult day. It for sure is. So, Rob, we got a lot of the bowl games going on from college football perspective. It's kind of like 2 games a night, but the big games are coming up. Ohio State playing Georgia and Michigan playing TCU. So those games I think they're New Year's Eve. It might be, or the day before New Year's Eve. So, football is still pretty good. But we're getting down to the national championship, and I'm looking forward to that. I wanted to give a shout out to Luke Whippler, the starting center for Ohio State, as we've mentioned, and he's been on our show before. Not only is he a hell of a football player, but he was also he's an academic All-American. So congratulations to him. That means something to me. That it's more than just football for these kids. And congratulations to him. And there's a bunch of Ohio State football players that actually made that list too. So I wanted to bring that up. So Rob, I'm going to move on to Major League Baseball because it's and now from a Mets fan perspective, you got to be happy. But I find, the whole Carlos Correa signing, which was indeed a shocker to most people. He was ready to be announced in the San Francisco Giants uniform, and all of a sudden that fell apart. And Steve Cohen swoops in with his checkbook and is going to pay this guy 359, 300, was it 315, something like that, staggering number for a guy that's a 279 lifetime hitter. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I just think if that's the market, then maybe Aaron Judge was underpaid by Hal Steinbrenner. I don't know. I mean, he's got better numbers than Carlos Correa. But the tandem for the Mets, Mets fans are delighted. He's going to team up with Lindor, and that could be a very formidable thing. The Mets, added Verlander, so the Cohen plan. The 5-year plan is underway, right? This will be the 3rd year of the Cohen plan, I think. What are your thoughts on that, Carlos Correa, from a Mets fan perspective?
It always seems fishy. I mean, all these teams have top-notch doctors. You got to tell me that one team's doctor said nay, and then all of a sudden another guy's team says, okay, let's sign him now. It almost feels like collusion. It almost feels like, behind the scenes, the Giants owner called up Steve Cohen and said, look, I don't want to do this. Take him off my hands or something.
Yeah, there seems too fishy. Yeah. There certainly is a backstory to this, because you're absolutely right. I mean, the San Francisco Giants flew Correa's whole family into San Francisco for this press conference, and I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever find out, but that's a good observation. That you're right. One team doctor saw it one way and said, there's something wrong with this kid, and Cohen signs up for it. I don't know. But it's the Mets. I mean, they're going to buy this championship one way or the other, but he's throwing tons of money out.
I tell you though, I mean, he's throwing tons of money out, but he's putting enormous pressure on his team to win. Because now, a $500 million to win this year. And if you don't win, I don't know.
And, is this going to be one of those, this is the Mets, same old story. And look at the payroll that's going to happen for the Mets, right? They're going to have to sign this guy Alonso for every bit of Carlos Correa money. I mean, it's going to be unimaginable, But anyway, a couple other things in Major League Baseball, and there's been a lot of movement in the free agent market, and like Dansby Swanson from the Braves, leaves Atlanta to go to the Cubs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but they're paying these guys incredible amounts of money. But a big loss, or a perceived big loss for the Yankees. Benintendi signs with the Chicago White Sox, right? So I don't know. Does that open the door? Are they thinking they could actually go into the season with Aaron Hicks as your left fielder? That would be insane, right?
I got to feel like this Brian Reynolds trade is going to happen soon.
I know. I just wonder. The Yankees just seem to sit idly by.
The Yankees and the Pirates love working together with trades. So I can't see it.
Well, listen. And that goes way back to the Willie Randolph trade. They got Willie Randolph from the Pirates and became literally a fixture at second base for Yankees for years. That's a good point. Yeah. But Benintendi, again, a great player. Not a great player, but I don't think he's a 300 lifetime hitter. They're hard to find now, but so the Yankees finally did, and I'll give you some credit there, Rob. You did mention that, and I think it was part of the whole master plan anyway, was signing Judge, and making him the 16th captain of the New York Yankees, right? That really wasn't a shocker. It seemed like it was a foregone conclusion, but that did happen. And I think, you know what? We said on this show, Sports with Mono and Mono, that he was not going anywhere. And I think the legacy he's going to build for himself in New York and be a lifetime Yankee is exactly what he wanted. And yes, they're paying him a lot of money, but you know, the Mets are going to have to pay Pete Alonso the same amount of money. It's crazy. It's crazy. But Rob, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up for as far as Major League Baseball, and it's a topic we've talked about on the show many times with this Trevor Bauer situation. He was actually officially reinstated by Major League Baseball. And again, people say, Jim, you harp on this character stuff. And I say, I'm sorry, I'm never wavering for it. A guy that's documented, brutalized women. He says it was consensual. It's absurd. And you know what? Major League Baseball, you dropped the ball on this. You can't have this kind of a player wearing a Major League Baseball uniform. Now, does that mean that somebody is going to sign him? I don't think the Dodgers are ever let him wear a Dodgers uniform again. But you know what? Crazier things have happened. And if they say, we're going to pay Trevor Bauer $20 million a year to pitch for our team, regardless of this character, I say, I'm out. And I just can't justify that in any way, shape, or form. And they did it, but I just don't know. I hope all Major League Baseball teams say, I'm not letting this guy wear our uniform. No. He sure as hell won't wear a Yankees uniform, and he's not going to wear a Mets uniform either. Thank goodness. You got any thoughts on that?
Why do I feel he's going to the Giants?
I don't know. The Giants got some
they've been
yard damage
all winter long, right? And then all of a sudden they need something. They're about to get back at the get back into the picture there. You know, yeah. I don't know. I see him going to the Giants. I don't know why.
I know the Giants though. They got a big PR problem now. You know, they just actually signed Michael Conforto to a 2-year contract and paying him $20 million a year. The guy hasn't played. He may not even be healthy. You know. And you can't trust the Giants' medical if they're healthy or not. I don't listen. I'm just saying. My point is, I hope Trevor Bauer never sees a Major League Baseball field again. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, so Rob, I just wanted to bring up a notable milestone. I know you're not the biggest hockey fan on the planet. But Steve and I are, and the Rangers are hot as a pistol right now, which is awesome to see. But Alex Ovechkin finally did pass Gordie Howe. The number, you know, he's chasing now is Wayne Gretzky, 892, 894, something to that effect. A record I thought for sure would never be approached. I'm still not sure that he's going to get there because that's a long way away. He's not a kid anymore. He's 39 years old, you know, but he's handled himself with class. And the Howe family saw an interview with Mark Howe, former NHL player, saying, listen, if my father was here, he'd be the first one to congratulate you on breaking that record, coming in second place. Can he sustain this for basically 2.5 more seasons? I don't know, but it's a record I thought was unbreakable. I thought the Lou Gehrig record was unbreakable, but that was broken. You know, I never thought that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record in the NBA could be broken, and that'll be broken. So I'm not going to be surprised if he hangs in there and does this, but that's a big milestone. You talk about Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe, and now you put Alex Ovechkin in that mix, you know. And thank goodness he won a Stanley Cup because, you know what, they would have trashed him forever for not winning a Stanley Cup. But nobody enjoyed winning that cup more than him, man. He was he was a party animal after that. But congratulations to him. One other note, because we got this kid Connor McDavid in Edmonton. This guy is a goal scorer extraordinaire. And he just, it's relatively early in the season for the NHL. And he's got 30 goals already. This is the fastest to 30 since a guy we just mentioned, Wayne Gretzky, right? Back in like 1995. So, before it's all said and done, if he stays healthy, it's got him team now. I mean, that's how proficient he's become at scoring goals. So congratulations to him too. But like I said, Rod, the Rangers are hot. This could be a good year for us. We made it pretty far last year, but Stanley Cup is the hardest.
Aren't all three teams doing good?
Yeah, all three teams are cranking right now. So, I mean, the Islanders from a bounce back after a miserable year, but now the Devils got all these young kids and they're starting to mature and the Devils are back in the mix. Yep. So, Rob, let's switch on to NCAA basketball. And I saw that Rutgers won last night, beat Bucknell. Rutgers got a pretty good defensive team. They're the fifth scoring defense in the country.
But they have an L. They have an L to us. That's all that matters.
Yes, and us. Please clarify for our audience the us.
The whole university.
Thank you. Yeah, but I love college basketball, and there was the team Iowa, right? They were a 31.5 point favorite over Eastern Illinois. One of the largest spreads of all time by a team that lost.
That was crazy.
Right, so 31.5 points. And what did that remind me of when I was a student at Niagara, the Niagara St. John's? St. John's was the number one team in the country at the time. And I think the point spread was like 28. Wasn't 31.5, but it was in the high 20s. And I remember all of my friends at Niagara, they were betting on St. John's because it just was inconceivable to think that Niagara could beat St. John's with that. You remember that team, right? It was Mark Jackson, it was Walter Berry, it was Wennington, and Niagara beat them, which was one of the I think 3 games that I ever even went to at Niagara when I was there, because they really weren't a formidable team. But that's what it brought up to me. And the NCAA basketball right now is kind of wide open. Purdue still sits at number 1, but you're seeing again kind of an off year for the Dukes, the North Carolinas, and even Gonzaga was the preseason number 1, right? They've fallen many spots, but where do your Seton Hall Pirates sit as we speak today?
Yeah, we're still learning a new system under a new coach. I think defensively we are really formidable. We can almost shut anybody down, but it's just we're kind of lacking shooters to really keep up on the offensive side.
Yeah.
What's your record? Iowa lost to this team by 30-something points, and we lost to Iowa by 16. So
yeah.
I think we're going to be a team that blossoms. We're going to blossom late because we're very, very sound defensively. So
satisfied
at the end.
Satisfied with the new coaching administration and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to get his players in. That's the whole thing. Who you're going to watch out for is UConn.
Yeah, they kind of haven't been relevant for quite a while.
UConn, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's stay with basketball for a minute, Rob, and move to the professional ranks. The Knicks and the Nets, they're both hot. And this observation, I think I said it like 3 weeks ago. I said the Nets are going to go on a run. They're going to start winning games. And Kevin Durant is playing as good as Kevin Durant has ever played during this little stretch. He's been averaging like 32 points a night. And he was making some circus shots last night that they actually beat Milwaukee. And
Big win last night. Big win.
yes, it was. And then in Madison Square Garden, the Knicks were taking on, what did they play? The Bulls last night, I think. And R.J. Barrett had a good game. What a difference a year makes from these Knicks. And again, I'm not seeing any substantial, roster changes other than Brunson coming. But, last year they wanted to run this guy Randall out of Dodge. He missed a big opportunity the other night. Reminded me of, I think it was Charles Smith for the Knicks. Remember, he missed that easy, literally hanging it over the rim.
10 of them, I think he missed.
Yeah. So the Knicks, having a good run. I don't think it's sustainable. They certainly, have a good opportunity
The Knicks lost last night.
No, I know, but Barrett had an amazing game, but they still lost. But overall, in the last 10 games, the Knicks are like 8-2. But they're not going anywhere in the East as long as the Bucks are there and so forth. And the Raptors, they can't seem to beat. And again, look what's happening in the NBA. How important is Steph Curry to the whole Golden State situation, right? They look like a team that is just getting blown out night after night with this guy out for, probably another 2 weeks. And, without him and Thompson, these are the defending champions and they look horrible right
now.
But I knew this streak was coming. We've been Kyrie free for a few weeks, right? We haven't had any major controversy, but Kevin Durant is the leader of that team, not Kyrie Irving. So I'm telling you, I don't know that they could beat the Bucks either. This guy Giannis is amazing. Oh no, ouch.
No, he's been quiet lately. Let's be happy. He's been quiet and he's been donating a lot of money to charities. So let him do that and be happy.
Yeah, but there's a lot. That's a roster that's not filled with big names other than Durant and Kyrie Irving. But Durant has taken that team. He's playing at the top of his game right now. So,
well, the main thing is the Nets have gotten away from the Blake Griffins, the LaMarcus Aldridge, like these older guys who they thought were going to step in and be the anchor at the center position. Now they finally told Nick Claxton, "It's yours. Run with it. There's no more old geezers on the bench. And they put some really good pieces behind the big two or big three. So we'll see what happens."
Yep, we'll see. But the NBA and tomorrow's NBA day. Today's NFL day. Tomorrow's the NBA day. 5-6 games or whatever. And I can't see me watching more than 10 minutes. That I watch reruns of the Christmas Story or something, instead.
Hey, you got 3 games tomorrow, NFL.
Oh, I thought there are games tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like a typical. It's like Thanksgiving Day. There's 1, 4, and night game.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought most of them were today. I didn't.
Yeah, no, they're all mostly today. But then, I did look. There's 3 games tomorrow, which is cool.
Because I didn't think they wanted to compete with the NBA. That's why I thought they.
This is a battle of egos now.
I guess.
And see who has the better ratings on Monday.
Right. Anyway, so Rob, let's move on to our random points of interest because I got a few of them, and this is sponsored, of course, by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and we wish happy holidays to the Lynch family, and they've been a long time sponsor of the show, and we're always grateful for that. Just a couple random points here. I thought it was funny because I did watch this. I guess it was more of a father-son golf thing with Tiger Woods and his son Charlie, right? And what a difference a year makes. This kid seemed like he was 8 years old 2 years ago, and now he's like 12 or 13. But I thought the funniest thing, and I wondered if it was staged, that he was limping around just like Tiger Woods. And I don't know. I don't know how he would twist his leg. And I said, is this theater, or is this, he dresses like his father. He swings like his father. He does all the motions like his father, and he's lumbering around on the golf course. And listen, if he was really hurt, then shame on me. But I just thought it was kind of funny, and it made me go, is this really?
So
that's taking it to a new level, huh?
So who won the tournament?
Forgot.
Isn't John Daly's kid pretty good?
Well, they won it last year. So, this year, Vijay Singh and his son won.
Okay.
It's the PNC or something they call it, but that's right, the Dailies, and those are two motley looking crews, Daly and Daly Jr. These guys, I'm telling you. And he wears those ridiculous pants. He's just kind of lost his mind. But I thought that was funny. But Tiger Woods and this kid, Charlie Woods, is going to be a golfer. We're going to be talking about this kid, within 10 years. I'm telling you, it's all in the genes. No different than horses. No different than athletes, right?
Yep.
So another basketball note, and this was kind of notable, I thought, from a random point, was Damian Lillard became the all-time Portland Trailblazers scorer, passing Clyde the Glide Drexler, who was awesome. But Lillard may play his entire career with Portland. Drexler went to Houston, but that's notable from a franchise. There've been some pretty good players on that team. And this kid Lillard, he lights it up. He's still a scorer. I don't know if they're going to do a payroll dump or whatever. I don't think there is anything called a payroll dump in the NBA because everybody makes $40 million. So, but that was notable. Congratulations to him. This was also, we mentioned Aaron Judge before. This is where greed got the best of somebody. So the 60-second home run ball that he hit, the kid who got it, or the guy who got it, was offered $3 million, before he even left the stadium, I bet, right? And he decided to roll the dice like Aaron Judge. So the ball goes to auction. He gets $1.5 million instead of $3 million. So,
which probably is $1 million after fees.
Oh yeah, absolutely, something. But I mean, people are paying $1 million or $2 million for baseballs today. It's the memorabilia thing. And you mentioned something. You had some Jordan cards or something that you got a hold of, and I know you're into the memorabilia, but I thought it was funny about the guy who turned it down. I mean, I thought it was funny. Rob, another thing. Steve and I have, been very passionate about our stance on LIV golf, right? Competing against the PGA and the whole Greg Norman situation. And this came as a little surprise to me because I thought, so the Masters is going to allow these LIV golfers to play in the tournament. And I thought, for any leverage from the PGA perspective, that's the one they should shut him out of, and they didn't. So, maybe this whole LIV PGA thing will work itself out, but there doesn't seem to be the tension and conflict that we saw when it first started, which was expected. But they are going to allow them to play Augusta National, which was a surprise to me, for sure. Anyway, I had another one. Oh, I didn't go into detail on this, but we did bring it up that Deion Sanders took the Colorado job, right? And I brought this up because I watched the Jackson State game last week, and this kid, Travis Hunter, caught the game, tying touchdown on a great play. to send it to overtime. Jackson State ultimately lost. So that kid's name was Travis Hunter. And guess where Travis Hunter is now going? Literally signed his transfer papers right after the game. And he's going. And who else is going to Colorado? Is Deion Sanders' son, who's apparently without any competition, without any regard for the kids that are there on scholarship. He basically at his press conference told these kids, you better enter the transfer portal because I'm bringing my football players here. And I just thought that was just a bad optic all around. I mean, open the door, don't basically tell these kids you don't have a shot because my son is going to be the starting quarterback at Colorado. I thought it was just a terrible, classless move. But he is becoming an influential guy in college football.
He must have known. He must have, when Travis Hunter signed last year, he must have known he was a year away from landing a bigger job. So, yeah, come here, look like a superhero, and then come with me to the next stop. It almost seems too obvious.
Well, there's no question he had this mapped out for something, and Colorado's not going to be his last stop. But to self-anoint his son as the quarterback was so unfair and just so classless to these kids that are already at Colorado. And watch now, Colorado will be back into the mix. Colorado hasn't been relevant in 20 years, and but we've seen how this transfer portal work. I keep saying portal works, and it's you could basically go wherever you want, right? And he's taken his own kids and making this the Deion Sanders University, not the Colorado Buffaloes, and it drives me crazy. But I had to bring that up because I thought it just was a disservice to the kids of Colorado. And I wouldn't, if I'm a Buffaloes fan, I'm not happy with that at all. So Rob, we have some notable passings, and this one is, I'm telling you, man, this was a surprise, and B, the timing of it all. This was Franco Harris, who suddenly passed away. I mean, he was literally doing interviews Tuesday and Wednesday in preparation for this, the recognition of the Immaculate Reception and playing the Raiders. And that was a shocker from the NFL perspective. And as soon as I saw that, I just think of, I brought this up before in the Trevor Bauer. When you're an athlete, I think it's important to have class. And Franco Harris exhibited class and grace both on the football field and for 40 years after his retirement, right? Just a big surprise, and I was hoping he would be there for this, and it's a shocker that he's going to be the one that's not there. And I must have watched the Immaculate Reception 50 times, this past week. Brought it up because, when I brought it up to my brother Tom, he says, and this is exactly what I expected him to say. And, he's just like mano a mano. He gives it to you straight. He met Franco Harris in the Giant Stadium parking lot after a preseason game against Pittsburgh in 1977. And he said not only was he gracious, classy, he was huge. And he said he looked like Superman. And he goes, and then 10 minutes later, I met John Hicks, who used to be on the Giants offensive line back in the 70s, who was an absolute overweight disaster, number one pick out of Ohio State back in 1974. But, Franco Harris was one of the good guys. And, it's a big loss for football. And I know you had some thoughts on him. I have never met anybody that had a negative word to say about Franco Harris.
No, I met him myself. I met him covering an event at Yankee Stadium. And like you said, he was just the nicest guy, took pictures with everybody, never said no,
Great. So he's exactly the player and the person that we thought he was. And, it's just a terrible loss that had happened during this week. And it was a kind of a surprise, not only to the Pittsburgh Steeler community, which is a very tight-knit community, by the way. 4-time Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champ. I think he was the MVP against the Vikings in 1974. But R.I.P. to him. He was really somebody that I admired as both a player and an off the field person.
I would hope the schedule, the TV schedule today would allow fans anywhere to watch that game today. I hope it's not like restricted or it's a very important game and that should be on nationally today.
Yeah. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if the NBA. The NFL gets paid for that, and they're the greediest organization on the planet. So that would be a good thing to do. Yeah, I think that's worthwhile of mentioning. And so R.I.P. to the Harris and Pittsburgh Steelers families. And Rob, there was another passing in the NFL. Ronnie Hillman, who was
I saw that.
A member, 31 years old, for God's sakes. I mean, he was battling cancer, but he was on the Denver Broncos Super Bowl team with Peyton Manning. 31 years old. He was like a third-round draft pick from San Diego State, but he had a pretty, hey, he had a Super Bowl ring, So I wanted to bring that up because he was only 31 years old. One other player from the world of sports. Go ahead, Rob.
No.
So from the world of baseball, Tom Browning, former Cincinnati Reds pitcher, pitched a perfect game in his career. 62 years old. Had a pretty decent record. He was 123 and 90. But, obviously his signature moment and 15 minutes of fame was a perfect game for the Cincinnati Reds. And he actually did got a ring with them, the Cincinnati Reds, when they upset, the Bash brothers, right? They beat Oakland in the World Series that year. He was a member of that team. But he was 62. I don't know if he won a Cy Young or not. I would have to check on that, but I don't think he did, but he did have, a couple of decent years for Cincinnati, and that's relatively young age as well. And Rob, there's one other person, which I ran into some of my old high school friends the other night, and they brought up, I don't know if we brought this man up, Les Plum. And Steve and I knew Les Plum. He grew up, he was an Oakland resident, but he was also the head football coach at Westwood. And he actually won a state title with New Milford back in the early 70s. And I didn't know that he had passed away at 88, but he was, he was a pretty damn good football coach in the high school level. 88, but he passed away in April. It completely, I didn't hear about it, but it's somebody that we knew. He was like literally a strict military type guy. And, I wanted to bring that up. And here's an ironic note from him. He was also a quarterback at Springfield College in Massachusetts and still holds the school record for the longest touchdown completion in school history. 99 yards.
Wow.
But I wanted to bring that up. And Rob, before we sign off, I wanted to got a picture, and it's kind of like our Christmas card from our show to our loyal listeners. And those are my 3 grandchildren with Santa and Mrs. Santa. And, the picture is awesome. If you could zoom in and see that little kid in the middle with his bow tie, that's my youngest grandson with Logan to the left and my sweet angel Hayden to the right. So that's a Merry Christmas from Sports with Mono and Mono. And again, Rob, thanks for jumping in and filling in for Steve while he's on the recovery. And Steve, like I said, you got a lot of fans out there, and they sent their best wishes and wish you a speedy recovery, and hopefully It looks like, I don't know, what are we looking for, next Saturday or Sunday, Rob? TBD?
TBD, yeah.
Okay. But,
I would think Saturday because I'll be working late until Saturday night. So
okay.
Saturday.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week on the show. You can see my Christmas tree, and Merry Christmas to all our loyal listeners. Rob, great hat. I didn't have a Santa hat, or I would have worn mine too. But enjoy your Christmas, and anybody that has comments, please send them to us at sportswithmono@gmail.com. And Rob, have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see all our listeners next week. Thanks for your support.
You got it. Merry Christmas.
Be good.
Bye-bye.